Hello, and welcome to a brand new podcast from Back Home Media. Check out our other podcasts, such as Parentless Podcast, which deals with the loss of a parent, KMU Pod, which deals with missing persons and unsolved crimes from the state of Kansas, In the Free Zone with Norm, which is about high school sports and anything else that Norm wants to talk about that week, and my mental health show, Something's Wrong. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, give us 5 stars, give us a nice rating, and enjoy the show. Hey, it's Derek. So before we even get started, I made a mistake when I was recording this episode. I sent this episode off to some family members of Arturo, and they said I had a few of the facts wrong. First one is I claimed that Indian doll is a voodoo doll, and it turns out it's actually called an Indian doll. I'm not familiar with what those are, but it is called an Indian doll, and it's not a voodoo doll. Second correction that I want to make is I thought that he went missing and was found deceased in the state of Oklahoma. Arturo was actually found deceased in the state of Texas. So anytime that I mention Oklahoma on this podcast, just know that I meant Texas. Hope you enjoy the show.
Back Home Media.
Everything we did, we fucked up by calling the cops. We fucked up by letting them. If I would have, I bet you if I would have went to liberals, kicked in that fucking door, maybe I would have found my brother. But I was trying to do shit the right way.
Hi, my name is Derek Relaford. I'm a true crime podcaster, and I also do an array of other shows with different features about different things. I've been reporting on unsolved homicides for a little over 7 years now. I've wanted to do this podcast for a long time, but I just really didn't know how to do it. Truth is, most of my sources usually find me. We speak maybe once or twice for an hour or so, and then generally most of the time we lose contact. Whenever I get these calls, I rarely have a pen or paper in front of me. I try my best to be a good listener and ask the right questions. On October 28th, 2020, my phone rang, and it was a childhood friend named Jess. She was with her friend Anisha, and her friend wanted to talk to me about her brother, Arturo Saul Varela. She was upset. She was at the end of her rope. I mean, here she was calling a podcaster in Arizona about her brother's case, which was not even an active investigation in the state of Oklahoma. After explaining to them that I'm not a detective and I'm not somebody who solves cases, I'm simply just somebody who has a microphone and an audience, Jess introduced me to Anisha.
Okay, so this is Anisha, and Anisha, this is Derek on the other line.
Hello.
What are you doing?
Oh, not much. Just here.
Jess had told me a little bit about what was going on Facebook, but I was kind of in the dark on the whole thing. I asked Anisha to elaborate on what she wanted to talk about.
Okay. Well, on October 20th, my brother had freaked out, which we were thinking that either someone put something in his drink, and there's a reason for that too, or that he got a hold of someone gave him some bad shit. Okay? And my brother's not the type to do this kind of stuff. I don't know if he was maybe, experimenting, whatnot. I don't know. But when they found his body in the autopsy, he had over 3-point-something grams of meth in him and had 0 THC. And my brother is a pothead. I mean, he should have, there would have been no reason why there wasn't pot in his system. There was no pot. There was just that. Well, the night he went missing, we went out there because my brother had called me, told me, what was going on. That my brother had freaked out, so we had went out there. And the cops were there.
Two different brothers she's speaking of.
Jessica chimes in to let me know an important piece of information. In this story, there are 2 brothers that we're talking about. Arturo, the one who took off running, and his brother who he was working with.
Yes, it was because my brother was working with my other brother out there. And when he took off, my brother called the sheriff right away for help, which we don't know why we did that. And when they got out there, they were standing out there. They wouldn't let us go in the field. They wouldn't let us do anything, just stood there. and, you know, asking us questions, this and that, well, was he on dope, this and that, and we told him we don't know. Like, he wasn't the type of person to do stuff like that, so we didn't know. Something had to be going on because of the way he freaked out, because when my brother said when he ran away from him, he was looking at my brother like he was a demon.
This was odd for Arturo. He was very close to his family, especially the brother that was driving him.
Like, he was just straight evil and was running away from him scared. My two brothers are close. We're all close, real close. We've been through a lot of shit in our lives and stuff. So after that, they told us they found him. They're like, oh, we found him. He's going down this road. You guys go ahead and go to the store and wait for us. So us, like dumbasses, we listened. Instead of following them, we listened. We went straight, and I told him, please don't hurt my brother. When you find him, just please don't hurt him. We went to the store. We got there. We were waiting about 5 minutes. The cop called me on my cell phone and told me, we're sorry, but the sheriff is calling off the search. If you go down Highway 15, you'll probably meet up with him, and sorry and good luck was all they told us.
Seems kind of odd for a search for somebody who's obviously in distress to be called off over a 5 to 10 minute period.
So then we were out there driving around the next day. We went back out there. Actually, we were out there all night. The next day, the sheriff, we called the sheriff and told him, what the hell, dude? Like, y'all need to come and help us. Nothing. I had a friend named Laura May who has a friend in the police department in Sunray. She had written me off some copies of so we can search in farmers' fields without them, telling us anything. Well, when she did that, we had this farmer sign them. For any land we were on, we had them sign them. Well, the farmer was telling us that the sheriff had already told them that the guy had been the guy was out of the area and they had nothing to worry about. So then pulled off the farmers. The farmers quit looking. Well, when we were out there telling them, but no, he's still missing. They were like, well, why is the sheriff telling us that everything's okay? He was just a kid on dope and, and whatever. That was it. Well, they never told us when they found anything. They never told us. The day that they found my brother, we never seen him. We asked why can't we see him? I mean, nothing. It was just, it's all messed up. I don't even know where to start. Like, it could take me hours to tell you everything from point A to point B.
She was right. This is a lot to take in. I mean, basically, he was hanging out with his brother after work. He lost his mind, got out of the vehicle, and ran off into a field. She was called on the phone. She went out to help look. It seems like the police said they were going to go look for him, told the family to kind of go back to town and await for, instructions. And few minutes later, 5 to 10 minutes later, they're told by the police, hey, you can go down the highway and look for him. We're not going to look for him anymore. It's a lot to take in.
He went missing on October 20th. Okay. There's absolutely no reason for it. They kept telling us, oh, well, maybe he was scared of being a father, this and that. No, whatever. That was all bullshit.
Jessica chimes in and asks her to tell me the date of the incident.
Oh, it says date of incident is January 21st, and that was the day we got the phone call saying, hurry, hurry, hurry. It was his voice. And I go back over it, and I listen to it. And I even say, this is not him. It's somebody, being fucked up.
What she's talking about is on January 21st, they received a voicemail. In the voicemail, it was somebody asking for help. She says it was her brother.
And I do it every time I listen to it. That is my fucking brother. That is my brother. We're close. We know each other. I know him. That was him.
I get a little confused here, so I ask her to clarify what day Arturo went missing and what day they received the voicemail.
October, November, December, January. 3 months.
Jessica chimes in and reminds her that they also received a voicemail on the night that Arturo went missing.
But that was you guys got the first one within the first 24 hours that he was missing, the one where it sounds like he's walking.
Yes, that one we got within the first 24 hours.
But that was his phone, right?
Yes, that was on his phone, but the second one we got was on another a man's phone that we know in Liberal. Well, we don't know him, but when we got to finding out where he lived and people were saying, oh, we've seen him over here, this and that. Well, whenever we went there, we found out that it was my uncle's ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's house.
Uncle's ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's house. That's kind of odd. Arturo goes missing. 3 months later, we receive a voicemail. It's from Arturo, and it's coming from the phone of somebody that you know. Is this a coincidence?
I'm sorry, but that's too many coincidences for it to be. And then when I talked to he went missing the same day Arturo went missing, came back days later. I mean, it's just everywhere. It's scattered everywhere.
So the owner of the phone that sent the voicemail from Arturo to the family also went missing on the day that Arturo went missing. This is really odd.
And then that voicemail that we got from my brother on January 21st, it said, hurry, 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 in a panicked voice. And in the background, I had a college kid take out all of the noise and just pull up his voice where he says, shoot him in the hand, is what he's saying. And then my brother says, hurry, hurry, hurry. And then it hangs up. And we called the Texas Rangers about it. And of course, they did absolutely nothing.
In my years of working with families and unsolved homicides, I've learned that it's really easy to point your finger at police and say that they're doing nothing. One thing to keep in mind, and it's important to remember, is that the police rarely show their cards when they're investigating something. It totally looks like they're dragging their feet. Now, this is not me endorsing all police work, saying that it's all 100% effective. But as an outsider looking in, sometimes it looks like a lot of inactivity is going on.
And then towards the end, they just put it as a acute overdose, and that was it. Well, for one, either to me, the way I see it, and this is why I want someone to help me out. I don't know where to go about none of this. I don't have money. I feel like it was either the cops did something to my brother, or someone took it was a murder either way. Either way you look at it, because for one, we called 911 for them to help us. They never ever did anything. Okay, said my brother was not in the area, and then 4 months later you find him, or actually, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months later you find him a mile from where he went missing. Like that was either someone took him from there afterwards and then put him back later, or y'all motherfuckers never ever even looked and he was out there the whole fucking time.
As a parent or a husband or a brother, I get that, how frustrating that would be to have somebody go missing and you know the area they went missing, and then the police search that area for 5 to 10 minutes and then call off the search. And then 7 months later, you find the decomposed body of your loved one within a mile of where they went missing. That's very frustrating. You got to feel helpless. You got to feel like maybe if you went out there and looked, none of this would have happened.
So stop really quick.
Jessica chimes in to get us back on course. She wants to talk about the voicemails that were left and the phone that they came from.
The thing about the guy that she's talking about, let me just give you a little bit. Didn't you guys get 2 calls from that number? And when they traced the number back, it came back to that guy. There was some sightings of Arturo supposedly in Liberal, and there was multiple ones that said he went into a certain house. When they followed that lead and found out, that's when they found out that the guy was their uncle's ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend. So, like, it was multiple things that kind of led back to the same guy, too.
And he's a big, he's not a very good guy. From what I get from his girl, he beats up the wife all the time, and he's a very violent man. And I know I've heard from a lot of people that if he knows he's going to go down, by all means, he'll do whatever it takes for him not to go down. And then when I told the sheriffs this, when I told the Texas Rangers this, you know what they told me? Oh, that's impossible. It is. Oh, so you're trying to tell me someone took a body from Liberal, Kansas to out there and just dropped him off? Oh, that's impossible. And I laughed and I said, you know what? I was like, it's impossible. I was like, you know how many fucking times I've known people to take drugs from Liberal to fucking Amarillo all the time? What's the difference between a fucking body?
This brings up something that I've often wanted to talk about. When it comes to the place where I grew up, I'm not dumb. I know that there is trafficking of drugs and narcotics and God knows what else into that part of the world. It's been going on forever. I understand that. And I'm somebody who asks a lot of questions about shady things that happened in the area over the last few decades. And I often wonder if people who partake in the smuggling of goods get nervous to the point where they think maybe I'm whistleblowing on stuff like that. I want to go on the record and say, when it comes to drugs and trafficking and all that stuff, not human trafficking, that's a different story. But as far as drugs being brought to that part of the country, they're being brought all over the world. I'm somebody who believes that drug addiction isn't a crime. I feel like it's something that people need help with. But yeah, I've never wanted to talk about or out anybody for the trafficking of narcotics into the state of Kansas. I'm here to help people solve homicides and find missing people. I could care less about drugs.
And he laughed in my face pretty much. And I have called, I shit you not, I have called the Texas Ranger at least 3 times a month since it's happened, and he's never called me back. Never.
It goes back to what I was talking about earlier. They hold their cards very close to their chest, and oftentimes in situations like this, they don't have any updates or any news. I think it's bad etiquette that they did not call her back, but I understand that maybe they didn't have any information for her.
I've tried to go past the Texas Rangers. I've tried to go above the sheriff's department. I've went as far as calling the FBI, and you cannot do anything. The FBI will not do anything unless they are invited by the sheriff.
This is true. A lot of people think that everything's just interconnected, and when something bad happens, the FBI automatically shows up. At the end of the day, the bulk of the work falls down on local PD. And a lot of times these smaller communities aren't staffed or trained to handle situations such as homicides or missing people.
I tried to get rescue teams out there. They would not help me unless it was invited by a sheriff. The sheriff wasn't doing anything about it at all.
I feel like a lot of these situations that could be easily solved if you just looked through the person's cell phone. I wanted to know what was going on in Arturo's life in the weeks leading up to his disappearance.
The night before he went missing, he was at my aunt's house, which is like bad blood. You know what I mean? Like, not a person to be fucking around with, and she had bad blood on my brother because he was dating, the baby he was going to have was her son's, which is my cousin's baby. It was my cousin's girlfriend.
This is not a small detail. Jerry Springer made a fortune off stories like this. Arturo started a sexual relationship with his cousin's girlfriend that ended in a pregnancy. This is a big situation that would make a lot of people involved very uncomfortable, especially Arturo's aunt, the mother of his cousin.
So she had said from the beginning, he will fucking pay. And then that night before, he was out there with her.
Now, if you've been following my true crime journey over the last 5 to 6 years, you know that I'm not somebody who typically outs people as a suspect. So I wanted to take this moment here to let you know that we're just letting you know facts based on what I've been told from my source. I do not know exactly what happened. This is in no way an endorsement of guilt towards anybody. I'm simply just hearing somebody out and letting them tell their story. All people talked about in this recording are innocent until proven guilty.
But I mean, you guys
and her.
Jessica chimes in again and tells her to elaborate more on what we're talking about.
She had made a statement to the other brother,
that she had given him some. That she knows why he's tripping because I gave him shit last night. But then I don't know. It's all crazy. And her and the guy that came from the voicemail, that number, they all hang out. They're all good friends. They're all tweakers together. That's the best way I could put it. That's how I identify them, tweakers.
When I was talking earlier about the trafficking of drugs, what I meant by that is I'm not a cop. I'm not going to try to stop that at all. I'm not going to try to police that situation. That's the job of the police to try to minimize the trafficking of narcotics into the community. One thing that I am against, though, is people being strung out on any type of drug to where it's messing up their life. If you've ever been to Southwest Kansas, you know that it is no stranger to drug addiction. And if you have been living under a rock for the past 20 years or whatever, a tweaker is somebody who gets high on uppers, generally methamphetamines.
Yeah, and you know what, man? If he went out there fucked off, I would not be so adamant to like find out what the fuck happened. You know what I mean? If I knew my brother was out there tweaking, fucking doing the dirt, well, you know what I mean? But something's not right in this, man. Something is not fucking right.
She brings this up because there was methamphetamines found in his system whenever he was found. Now, this is not something typical of Arturo. He was not known to be a meth user. He was known to be a marijuana user, but not a meth user. Jessica chimes in again. She wants to talk about the voicemail still.
In that first recording, if you really, I don't know how well they were able to clear it out, the one that he called within the 24 hours, he clearly says something in there. I mean, I can't make out exactly what it was when I heard it, but he says something to whoever he's talking to. He says something about my baby.
Yes,
so, I mean,
I need to get back to my baby.
Because he was about to have a baby.
Arturo was extremely excited about being a father. Sure, the relationship that he was in and the pregnancy was all sort of unplanned and probably not something he went looking for, but it's where he was, and he wasn't unhappy about it. He was looking forward to being a dad. Coming from a Christian family, what she did next surprised even her.
I know you're not supposed to go this way if you believe in the Lord and all that, but I did. I reached out to this girl. She's medium. What she got from it all was, in the beginning, it was an accident. Then there was a betrayal. Then there's a blind woman, and then there's an imposter out there talking, just throwing out bullshit out there to make everybody think it was over here and, kind of mess it up.
This isn't the first time I've heard about missing persons cases where the family brings in a psychic, and even Christian families that shouldn't believe in such things as psychics. But, unless you've been in that situation where you don't know where your loved one is, you don't know desperation. But a blind woman and somebody spreading misinformation, surely none of this would ring any bells for the family.
Which, I mean, it goes with what is going on, because I do have a friend, I thought she was a friend, that was telling me all kinds of stuff. I mean, even brought up pictures of an autopsy, was trying to tell me it was my brother's hand, my brother's arm, my brother's leg, to that extent. So now I have her on the back burner to where I'm like, well, what do you know about it? Why would you go as far as having someone come to my house saying that they were the EMT that found my brother and then just causing all kinds of mess?
This isn't uncommon. A lot of times when tragic things happen, people who are attention seekers latch themselves onto it in some way in order to have self-validation. It happens all the time. Another thing to keep in mind, and it's something that I've learned from my 2 years doing my podcast, Kansas Missing and Unsolved, is that a lot of these cases that we're fighting for are not even considered crimes or open cases anymore. In Arturo's case, his death was actually ruled an acute overdose. So they're not looking for a story. They're not looking for why he was missing for so long. They're not looking for any of the details. As far as Oklahoma goes, it's a closed case.
I mean, the cops are, they shut it down. They have said, what did they rule his death as, Anisha?
Oh, a acute overdose.
Yeah. So they're ruining it
and then they never told me when he died, and I can send you I'm not really sure on what the death certificate looks like, but the time of incident was the day we got his phone call, which was January 21st. I think that was the day they shot him up with all that dope and then took him out there.
They, in this instance, would be the people attached to the phone where the voicemail came from.
And then, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people tell me, oh, you can let it go, put it in God's hands. But you know what? I want justice. You know what I mean? I want them motherfucking dope heads to fucking pay for what they fucking did to my brother. They did not fucking deserve that. If you knew my brother, this is what, I mean, I can just clear it up by this. He named his daughter Ivy Quinzel after Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. That's the type of my brother I had. This really sucks.
My heart began to break for her. I've gotten to know a lot of family members of victims over the last 5 to 6 years, and it never gets any easier when you're trying to comfort somebody who's trying to mend a broken heart that will never be mended. She brings up a great point. These investigations, they take manpower, they take money, A lot of times the jurisdiction doesn't have the funds nor the resources to give these cases the attention that it needs. That's why you see a lot of people taking matters into their own hands.
And then me not having no money, not having no ties to nothing, I have no power. Money talks, and I don't have money to be able to talk.
When it comes to these situations, evidence collection is the most important thing a family can do. A lot of times I feel like the answers to the questions are going to be in the cell phones of the people that went missing, if they ever find the phones, or people that are found deceased, if their phones are found in a working order. I just feel like those last few text messages, those last few calls, gives you a general idea of what was going on in that person's life when it tragically ended. I asked where the phone was.
You have
And
the
then,
phone,
like,
don't you?
No. I believe that has it. I believe that my aunt has it. I believe that my aunt had a lot to do with it. I don't know why, but it always turns me back to her. I don't know. To me, I don't believe in coincidences. Not that many coincidences. Every coincidence turns back to them.
In small towns like this, in small communities, it's not hard to find connections with people because, one, there's relation, and two, it's a small area. Everybody knows everybody. Jessica chimes in and mentions that she knows somebody personally who is close to the case.
You remember when in the message that I told you that people that worked there didn't want to really help with anything? And I said that because I worked with a girl whose husband worked on that crew. And so, through all this stuff, I was messaging her one day and I said, hey, ask if there was anybody else in the truck whenever Emilio took Arturo. I said, was it just the two brothers or was there somebody else that went with them? And her response to me was, oh, no, he doesn't want to get involved in that. I'm sorry. He wants to stay out of that. And I said, that's a really weird response when somebody goes missing unless somebody knows some foul shit happened.
Hi, this is Stephanie Relaford, co-host of If You Want to Get Away with Murder, a podcast from Back Home Media. Derek went out to catch some fresh air, so I will be taking over narration for a bit. So that's a troubling thing to think of. Investigations usually start with people the victim knows. In this case, the last person to see Arturo alive was his brother. But as Derek mentioned before, up until this point, Arturo was nothing but close to his family.
There's no fucking way, man. No fucking way. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. There's no fucking way. No way. At all. Like, with all the shit that we have been through in our lives, like, for this to be the end of my brother, no, dude. Can I legally go in and get all my brother's autopsy reports, his autopsy pictures? Because honestly, bro, I don't even know if this is my brother in the fucking box.
Derek explains that the answer is yes and no. If the case is closed, there really isn't much of a reason for the authorities to withhold the information pertaining to his death. That being said, this happened in a small town community. Some of the officials might not know the legalities of releasing information. Derek tells the girls that technically they should be able to get the information, but it might be tricky.
And then what pisses me off is, like, now the house where my brother maybe died at, maybe they did shit at, now the dude don't even live there. So now I'm like, fuck, like, there goes evidence there. You know what I mean? And then this dude, he's back in Liberal now. Like, I talked to the girl, his girlfriend, and now she's changing her story. Of course, now she don't know nothing. She don't have proof, so she can't say for sure. But in the end, and then the way I seen it from the medium, she's the blind one. She's the one that just don't want to say shit.
This goes back to the medium. She stated that there would be a blind woman. Could this be Jessica's coworker? She does seem pretty aloof to the whole situation. Jessica wants to know more about them finding the body.
What county did they ultimately, because they sent him to Lubbock, didn't they, for the autopsy, Anisha?
Yes.
And then how did they tell your mom that they identified his body? Because no family member was able to identify him.
His tattoos. We sent a picture of his tattoos, and then, in the missing things you could see his tattoo on one hand of the girl. That's the way they identified him.
Did they find his shoe out there?
They found his shoes. They found everything folded up beside him. Like, they found his wallet in his shoe, like if he was going swimming.
So he was supposedly he was in his boxers and his tank top, his wife beater.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was chilling, like sitting in the tank, not like somebody put him in there. Or he
No,
fell.
like he was chilling. Like he was hanging
that's
out.
odd too to me.
Like he was chilling, and the farmer was the one that found it. But I come to find out, I found the farmer and stuff. I mean, a lot of farmers and shit around here don't want to fuck with the cops.
A lot of the people who have called this part of the country home for decades don't really trust authority. Signed on June 18, 1878, the Posse Comitatus Act is a United States federal law. It's a law which limits the powers of the federal government in the use of federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies within the United States. Long story short, the people will police themselves. You run into this a lot in Middle America.
Everything we did, we fucked up by calling the cops. We fucked up by letting them. If I would have, I bet you if I would have went to Liberals, kicked in that fucking door, maybe I would have found my brother. But I was trying to do shit the right way.
Jessica gets us back on track by bringing up the sightings of Arturo in the time following his disappearance.
Didn't you tell me, Anisha, like pretty much every sighting led back to not just that man, but these particular people, because there was a sighting supposedly of him at the hobo thingy, whatever, and they describe what's her name?
Yes, they described her and him.
So it was, because at first I even told Anisha, I was like, you can get an app and make a number show up from any number. You know what I mean? Maybe it was just a coincidence that it led back to her boyfriend. And then after like 5 coincidences, I'm just kind of like, that's a little much.
And then I even called the cops from Liberal and told them, you guys need to go check out this house. Nothing.
Wasn't it when you guys were told that they seen him going in that house, you and your mom went like basically stalking over there in Liberal, and your mom went up and looked in the windows and they caught her, and that's how y'all figured out who lived there?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how we remember. And I remember my mom telling her, if you had anything to fucking do with my son's fucking disappearance, I'm going to fuck you up. And she was all sitting there scared. And then my mom even says to this day, she feels like my brother was in there at that moment.
Now, that is a pretty dark idea, that maybe Arturo was in the house against his will. It was stated earlier that his aunt had purposely dosed him with high amounts of methamphetamine on the day he went missing. But then again, it seems far-fetched that someone could be held against their will for that long.
Well, didn't her daughter tell you some stuff?
Yeah, and her daughter says that, she knows that her mom knows that it was him, and her daughter's right now in the hospital ICU. And I had talked to her, and it was kind of fucked up of me, but kind of not. But I was thinking, I have seen her one day in Walmart. I didn't even recognize her. And she had said, "Hi, Anisha," and like something made me stop and look at her. And I was like, she's like, yeah. And the first thing that popped in my head was, she's dying. Maybe she'll tell me the truth now. Like, it's fucked up to say, but I admitted it to her. I was like, that's the only reason I stopped and talked to you. And she was the one, she straight up told me, yes, she does believe that he did it. She's like, and that her mom knows that he did it, but her mom don't want to say nothing.
At this point, Derek asked what the issue between Arturo and his aunt was specifically. Sure, family members fight all the time, but poisoning? Murder? What could make his aunt so mad?
Their aunt, because my brother started fucking around with her son's girlfriend, and they ended up having a baby and stuff like that. And I mean, even when the baby was born, my brother was missing. The baby was born, and we were all gooing and gawing over her, because I mean, my brother's gone. Like, we were just overexcited about the baby, and knowing we're going to have to take care of it until my brother comes back. This is before we knew he was dead. And she was like, you guys need to calm down and what you say about that baby around Isaac, because you know how he feels about that. That was supposed to be his kid. And I mean, just shit that she says and she comes out with. And then she tried to tell my mom that about the whole giving him my brother's shit. She tried to turn around and put it on my mom and be like, well, Stacy, you can't blame me. You can't do that to me, because you remember that we used to smell shit whenever I was pregnant and I lost the baby. So she was pretty much trying to cover up what she did with what they did back in the day when my aunt was pregnant.
From what we gather, Arturo's aunt used to get high with Arturo's mom when she was pregnant. To this day, she blames Arturo's mom for losing her baby.
And I just looked at her and I was like, that's fucking stupid. Like, how are you even going to compare that? This is a kid that's fucking out and That's a kid that's in your body. Like, that's totally different. You shouldn't have been doing this shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just with everything and her saying she was going to get him and he's going to fucking pay for what he did to my son, and just little comments like that is what really got us.
And keep in mind, at this point in time, the two cousins had already resolved that issue.
And then a week before he went missing, she had accused my brother of trying to mess around with her.
It's twisted and sordid, like, in all honesty. Like, she even went, after all this happened, didn't she get all freaked out about that $18 your grandma gave her?
Yeah, she took the Indian doll to a witch because my brother's face was on the Indian doll and was haunting her. And then I talked to the guy, and he said, yeah, dude, your brother's face was on that Indian doll when I got the Indian doll.
An Indian doll. After digging through several pages of Google results, it looks as if she was talking about a voodoo doll. That is a little odd, to have a family member that has a voodoo doll with your face on it and she is wishing harm upon you. Pretty messed up. Hey, I think Derek is coming back. I'll see you all next time.
I mean,
that I don't fuck with. Like, I fuck that.
In the beginning, she had mentioned that the police told her that they had an idea of where he was at and that they could go back to where they were and wait. I asked her how the police knew where he was at with such certainty.
They said they tracked him on his phone, supposedly, when the cops went to go find him in the beginning. So they told me that they had tracked they pinged his phone, and they were on their way to go. They knew exactly where he was headed to, and they were going to meet him on the highway. And then all of a sudden changed their minds and said, nope, sorry, we're not going to help you no more. And then tried to arrest me because I was out there looking for my brother. They didn't know I had documentation stating the permission slips of the farmers letting me know. Well, they were trying to arrest me, take me to jail because I was looking for my brother.
So they were trying to give you trespassing.
Yeah, that we were trespassing when I had documentation saying I can look through those fields. They never told us when they found anything. They found his jumpers. They never ever told us anything about that.
Oh yeah, because he was in his red suit from Seaboard, right?
Mhm.
He had those over his regular clothes?
Yes. But a week before he went missing, he just kept telling me, like, he was so excited about the baby and everything was like, Anisha, you're going to be there, right? You're going to go to the birth, right? Like, he was so excited. So excited. And like that's all he could ever talk about.
That the Texas Rangers told her whenever she says about that recording where he said, hurry, 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 and the TV in the hand, that they told her, how do you know that's your son's voice off a 20-second recording?
Fair enough question. I mean, you can never be certain 100% that the voice you're hearing on a voicemail is a certain person. But I feel like if it's your family, if it's your blood, you'd probably recognize the voice. I asked her where Arturo went missing and where he was found deceased.
Kind of in between both counties. It was on, I don't know if you know, over here, that road from Sunray. It either goes, it's a Y. It goes to Groover, Sunray, and Texoma. It's called Highway 15. Or County Road 15.
Yeah, it was right there on the county line. They came missing in Sherman County, and they found his body across the county line in Hanson County.
So he went missing in Sherman County, and they found him across in Hansford?
Yes, but it was only like 2 miles away from where he went missing to where they found him.
That is kind of troublesome to know that 7 months later when he was found, it was right there within walking distance from where he was last seen. And it really makes you be upset that the police sent everybody home instead of being out looking in those crucial hours. And it led me to a lot more questions. If he was found within 2 miles of where he went missing 7 months later, does that mean that he died that night, or did he die somewhere else and end up back in the same place?
And my thing is too, like, dude, it's just like I said, either someone murdered my brother, put him back out there, or one of the police officers found him, fucking did something to him and left him out there, and then just didn't care. It all pisses me off because where we found him, or where they found him, that's where we met up to go look for my brother. It was just down in the canyon a little bit where we couldn't see him.
And didn't they send you the other way?
And that's whenever they ran us off.
The other way?
Yeah, and that's where they ran us off and told us to go. They ran us off from there. That's whenever they tried to arrest me, and that's when I went crazy. Honestly, I fucked up because I quit looking because I don't know, it was tearing me up. I was fucking going crazy, and I don't know. I just had to go back to life, I guess, and that's when after they found. I think that's why it fucks with me so much now, is because my family was safe. They were all good. I should have been out there looking and kept looking. But no, I had to stop and be a parent and be a wife and be so I stopped. Which really, I don't believe that he was out there that whole time.
I just don't think there's any way he could have been out there that whole time.
And that's something to consider. If he was found out there 7 months later, you have to wonder, did he die that night out there in the elements? Or did he take off for 7 months against his will, and then he ended up back in the same place 7 months later? In order to try to pin down this information, I asked her what the date of death on the death certificate was for Arturo.
And then they can't tell me that I don't have any exact date of his death. They didn't tell us.
The coroner said 3 days.
The coroner said 3 days.
So, Stacey, do you have the death certificate?
January 21st.
Yeah, and then the death certificate's the date of incident was January 21st.
And then as the death date was May 9th.
And then the day they put as a death date was May 9th. May 8th. May 8th was the day we found him. Was the day they found him.
So how does that add up? If the coroner says he died 3 days after he went missing, then how could they not easily calculate that to October 23rd, 2017? Why would they put it clear to when he was found? And then
or have one of the, it was crazy that one of the dates on there was the day that we got the voicemail. That's what fucks me up.
The sheriff's
yeah, and we sent it to the sheriffs and everything. They didn't do a fucking thing about it.
They said, what am I supposed to do?
He told my mom, what am I supposed to do with the 30-second voicemail?
It is crazy that one of the dates on the death certificate is the day that they received the voicemail. And this is several times now that she's brought up. She's tried to contact the authorities, local PD, FBI, and it doesn't seem like anybody's returning her calls.
And I call that motherfucker all the time. He don't ever call me back. Ever. He's never calling me back. And like I told everybody, dude, I wished we were investigated. Like, why weren't we investigated? We are the family. We should be the first people of interest, right? Not one time were we ever investigated at all. Not one time did they talk to us. Not one time did they have us in an interview. Nothing.
They didn't even have us go identify the body.
No, they wouldn't let us.
I don't know the legalities in Oklahoma, but in my opinion, it should be your basic right to see your loved one's body after they've died, no matter what condition it's in. I asked if they have a copy of the autopsy.
Yeah, and then they kept pushing for us to cremate him, and us not being in our right mind, we were like, okay, because they were like, oh, he's so decomposed and this and that, and the funeral home was the one that was like, if I were you guys, I would just cremate, which us like dumbasses fucking did.
Anisha, did you hear his question?
No, what was it?
Do you guys have a copy of the autopsy report?
Yes, I do.
We get sidetracked here immediately. I, like an idiot, I'd forget to ask her, the details of the autopsy report. But we kind of get into an area where she talks about her aunt, and she's very clear about something. She does not and will not say that her aunt is like a murderer or she had anything directly to do with Arturo's disappearance or death. She's just very leery and has a lot of unanswered questions. So we kind of talk a little bit here about the collateral damage portion of these types of situations. You have people that are people of interest. Maybe you're suspicious of them, but you don't want to go too overboard on that because you could potentially run somebody's life by labeling them a murderer or a kidnapper or anything like that. So we talk here about how she's very careful to go ahead and give a guilty verdict to her aunt before she knows the facts.
I don't know for sure. I mean, it something tells my intuition and my heart, my gut tells me she did have something to do with it. But at the same time, I have no proof. So, I don't want to blame someone if it's not even true. You know what I mean? Like, that's my aunt, man. I wouldn't want to blame her and then come to find out, no, she had nothing to do with it. But everything is pointing to her. Every fucking thing is pointing to her.
It's a tough position to be in when you have to point a finger at somebody you care about. At this point in the conversation, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp on what we were talking about. I just kind of bluntly asked, "What do you want from this? You've contacted me, a podcaster out of Arizona, in hopes that maybe I can help tell your story on a bigger stage. What do you want from this whole experience?"
I want answers. And then my thing is too, I don't want someone that did harm to my family around my kids, man. And, and I don't want someone that did something to their uncle, someone they love. Like, this broke my kids. It broke them. Like, and now they don't trust cops. They don't care. They're like, why are we? And then with everything going on, like, they do not like cops. The cops didn't help us, Mom, whenever Arturo went missing. They just thought he was a bad guy, and he wasn't a bad guy. You know what I mean? Just everything that is. I want us to have closure. That's it. And just to know the people that, okay, look, because there's been a lot. I have made my mom pretty much stop talking to her sister. That's her only sister. But at the same time,
this can prove that she didn't have nothing to do with it. That's also great. You know what I mean?
Exactly. If I can prove, hey, she didn't have nothing to do with it, well, then awesome, because then I know, hey, I can apologize to you. Because everything that I'm telling you, I have told her. I have told her how I felt. It was what, Mom, like a month ago? 2 months ago? Well, when I did all that shit, when she came back, it's been a while ago. I told everything. I told her about what she was telling me about her. I told her everything. I told her the reason why I thought it was her. I straight up opened up, and I told her everything, why I thought it was her, the things she said, everything. And it was like nothing, like going in one ear and out the other.
I asked her what her aunt's body language was like whenever word broke out that Arturo was missing.
She didn't come around at all. Like, which after she told my brother that she gave him shit, she left, and then that was it. And then it was like, oh, you guys don't even want me around, and none of it was poor me.
Jessica chimes in.
Yeah, I'll say this completely honestly, 100%. Even when we went down after they found him, and we went down to release some balloons, at that site, she made that situation somehow about her and her daughter. Like she was, I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something to do with that prayer box, I think, or something, Nisha. But, she turned it a situation, and I'm just like, dude, nobody really cares about y'all's feelings right now because it's ain't about y'all. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. She did do that a lot, make everything about her instead of what it was about.
Mm-hmm. Just like she said, oh, you remember, Stacey, you remember whenever we were getting high and my baby died. Well, you can't blame me on this one. You can't take it against me. I forgave you. You have to forgive me. Forgive you for what? And that's when I came and my mom was telling me this. I was like, fuck you. I don't give a fuck what the fuck y'all were doing. Y'all were pregnant. That was your choice to do that shit while you were fucking pregnant, not my mom's. I was like, and second of all, that was fucking years ago. What does that have to do with my fucking brother after all the shit that he's been through already?
If I'm the etiquette police, I agree 100%. Really strange thing to bring up when somebody's son and brother is missing. But yeah, if you chose to put drugs in your body when you were pregnant and you lost your child, I don't think you can blame the people in the room around you. I think that decision is going to be on you at the end of the day. But again, very strange thing to bring up whenever somebody's missing.
Like, it just, yeah,
A reoccurring theme you're going to see in this show as the time progresses and I put more episodes out is that a lot of the people that we deal with on this show were at one point or most of the time at the end of their lives a drug informant. Now, from anything I've gathered and talked to, it doesn't sound like Arturo was in that lifestyle enough to be a drug informant. But I asked if maybe the aunt had any run-ins with the law where she was able to get away scot-free.
Yeah, because it's a little, she went to prison that one time, Anisha, that one time. And every time after that with multiple failed UAs, never working, never doing shit, she got sent to rehab. And then she got back out. She got her fucking house raided by her probation officer. There was fucking shit all in there, and she didn't go to prison this time, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been an afterformer of her already being in prison for the same exact type of charges. And she went to rehab again, right?
Yeah.
For 6 months.
Yep. And then came back out and doing the same fucking shit.
I'm not saying she's an informant, but I mean, if you walk suck a duck and talk suck a duck, it's usually a duck.
The thing is you can kind of tell what an informant exists, because somebody gets in trouble, they're in the paper for a drug charge, and then 3 or 4 days later you see him at this grocery store doing fine.
And that just seems to be how it works all around here in all this tri-state counties right here, because you know, you're going to go sit in jail for no license, but you get caught with some methamphetamines, and you're usually out in 48 hours, and they OR you, you know? So, yeah, I'm paying Morgan County $200 for my dog barking. It's crazy.
And then it just sucks because, like you said, it seems like it's just been swept under the rug, and that's it. You know what I mean? And with me not having money and not having fucking power like that, I can't. And like I told my mom, I was like, fuck, maybe I should have made a big-ass fucking deal. Maybe I should have fucking went out there and fucking started protesting and fucking, you know what I mean? Because look at all these families that make a big-ass deal and just start fucking talking. They get answers.
Arturo Varela, born February 13th, 1989, and his death certificate says he died on May 9th, 2018 at the age of 29. He's the son of Stacy Shirley and Arturo Saul Varela. Arturo was born February 13th in 1989 in Guyman. He graduated from Ellenwood, Kansas High School in 2008. Arturo moved from Great Bend, Kansas to Guyman in 2008. He had worked for Seaboard Processing Plant here in Guyman, and Arturo enjoyed time spent with his friends and family, liked to shoot guns and play video games. All we really know that happened that night is Arturo had some kind of mental breakdown, whether that was caused by drugs or mental health issues, we don't know. According to everything we've heard today, it sounds like maybe something may have been put in his system without him being aware. We know that he took off running, and we know that in May, they found his clothes and belongings folded neatly next to a tank of water where his lifeless body was sitting in, peacefully. If you have any information in the disappearance and death of Arturo Varela, please contact the Texas Criminal Investigations Division at 844-643-2251. If You Want to Get Away with Murder is a Back Home Media production. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We record in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, and beam across the country on our America Missing and Unsolved network. Visit our main site at kmupod.com, or you can visit backhomemedia.com. Our script is written by me, Derek Relaford, storyboarding by Stephanie Relaford, mixed and mastered by Ian Relaford, studio provided by High Plains Sports League, and website fees are covered by Big Fish Bail Bonds. This podcast was made by parents, so updates will vary on our availability, but don't worry, we have plenty of stories for you in the works. To support us directly, go to patreon.com/fatkidaz or onlyfans.com/Don Evans.